Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to show you how I made my Bronya Waakye stew, and unfortunately for this clip I had lost the audio. Well, I had lost the audio for all of my things, so I'm just going to be voicing over, and I was going to leave something in it but I couldn't leave it. I'm basically just telling you that I've blended 5 tomatoes. It doesn't really matter, just depending on the size. I use really big tomatoes, and I blended 5 of those and 2 of the white onions, and I also did 3 of the habanero peppers, and I just blended it up. And in my pots, I have some oil, and I've seasoned it with 2 bay leaves and rosemary. I just like to incorporate that flavor early on into my stew. So we are just gonna put that in, and then let the stew start frying out. You see, just take note of the color of the stew as we are doing this. So as you can see here, I've poured the mixture in, and you see how it's just starting. I put everything on low so that the stew can take its time. You know, when you're doing a proper stew, you really want it to take its time and cook, you know? So you see, um I'm just gonna let that simmer for about 15 minutes on like mid-high heat. So that would be like if your stove is like mine and it has like from 1 to 10, I would put it on 5 to really slow down the cooking and take its time, you know? It's not a rush. You don't want your stew to bend because then it will be very bitter. So cover it and letting it let it simmer for about 15 minutes and check periodically and stir it just to make sure that your stew doesn't burn, even though it won't burn. But just depending on the pot that you might have, the way your stove is, it could burn. So that's what we want to avoid. And yeah, this stew, you can serve it with your white rice, you can serve it with wache. It's really a good stew. It's one of my favorite stews, and that's what we did for Christmas. Well, it's not, we didn't do it for Christmas, but Christmas is coming, and I just wanted to share my recipe because I had this in my drafts. I've been meaning to release it, you know, but yeah, let it take its time. Let it take about 15 minutes for it to be cooking. And you see how it's starting to simmer over here, and I showed you that it's on mid heat. You see how it's trying to simmer. Just let it take its time. Still, you really want it to let it take its time. I know I said this before, but a good proper stew, you let it take its time and it's the best. And for this stew, since we already put the bay leaf and rosemary in it, we won't really be needing many seasonings because when we are going to use beef and Wele and towel inside the stew, so we don't really need to season it aggressively. When you get to that point, you add your stock in, your beef stock that is. You add it in, and then the flavors will just come from the beef seasoning, the beef oil. So as you can see, it's starting to simmer. This is where you kind of are at the midpoint. If you want, you can choose to, lower it even more, or you can just higher it just a smidge. You don't want to higher it too much because you don't want it to burn. You want it to take its time. We're closing it up and coming back again in 15 minutes. And you see, sometimes, depending on your pot, this seeing it like this, you really want to stir it so that just to make sure that the bottom isn't burnt, because we don't like stew that the bottom is burnt because it's going to be really bitter and you won't really like it unless it's been on the stove for a couple of days, taking its time. So right now I'm just testing the consistency, and you see how it is right now. Because we use the food processor, it's not looking like much because we didn't add water to it, and we don't really have to add water to it. At this point, you can add your curry powder just to introduce the flavor early. I know not everybody uses curry powder in the stew, but I like it. It's a very key ingredient in my stew. One of my aunties don't like it like that, but I don't like her stew, so I mean, that's the best. And you add two, like the two small tins of tin tomatoes, and you stir that in. At this point, see, my stew has been simmering for about 2 hours, and now is the time that you know you can add your tin tomatoes. You just stir that in real good, and then you cover it once more. And I actually, Africans, I have like five freezers. So I was actually looking for my Kotodwe. I was looking for my Kotodwe inside my freezer. I couldn't find it. So I actually had to run to the butchery to go get some. So I left this on a really, really low, like a good two, and I left it and came back. I mean, nothing was gonna happen. There was somebody in the house, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And you see, once the oil starts to surface up, that's when you know your stew is getting ready to be done. You see how it's turned into this nice color. The oil has stained into a nice orange. That's how you know your stew is coming together very nicely. Right now, this is our gravy. We haven't seasoned it yet. Not like season it. We haven't seasoned it aggressively. And this is good. The seasoning that I just, if you just need it, I have Remy stew. I use Remy stew, and I just add a little bit inside for my taste. You know, right now, you just stir it to make sure. And this part is very good. So as you can see, this is my beef. I have to cut it, my kotoje, my towel, and then we just let it, you know, we put it into our bowl. Well, not bowl, well, a pot. We put the Wele and the Kotodwe and the towel together since they are kind of the same because we are not going to use that stock. You can't really use that stock for the thing. We don't cook this with the beef, so we're going to cook it separately. I added the ginger, onion, and garlic mixture along with some Remy beef powder and some rosemary, and then we just stir that all together and let it cook. I let it cook for about an hour because my thing was really hard. But depending on how you like your stew, your meats, you can cook it less if you like it harder. But I just needed it soft because I have kids in the house. This is my stew. I added the stock already inside. As you can see, my stock is waiting here. That's the beef stock. I fried the meat just a little bit. We didn't fry it too long, but we just fried it just a little bit so that we can add it in. And I'm adding in
So
the
you
beef stock right
fry the
now.
beef. Oh,
And you see how I fried it? And this is the end result. After we mixed in everything and added a little bit of the Remy seasoning inside. I left the audio in so that you can hear what it was saying about it. You see, it's a very good stew. See how rich it is? Because we took our time. We started at we started at 11 a.m. and we are ending around 5, as you can see on the clock. But you see how good it is. You can just hear it. Add this on with your watching. Add your macaroni, you add your salad, add your pear, you add your egg, you add your shito. It's the best thing you can do. And I don't really have my recipe up yet for my watching, but as you can see, it's very nice, it's very fluffy, and yeah. If you want a video for that, please comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again later. Bye bye.